Bienvenidos. Salam alaikum. Akeji. Shabuto. Welcome. I'm Ben Clark, Executive Director of Enroot, and I'm conferring just a few ways to say welcome or hello. And our Enroot students and community hail from more than 36 countries and speak more than 20 languages. Our program provides wraparound support for Enroot students during their high school and early college years. And at the very heart of our work with students is helping them create an unshakable sense of belonging as they navigate a new school system, a new language, and work hard to set roots in a new community. We're proud of them, and on behalf of our Enroot students and our entire Enroot community, welcome, and thank you for being a part of tonight. We're going to kick off tonight's program with a performance by the amazing U-Meleni Mhlaba-Adebo. U-Meleni is a Zimbabwean-American artist, activist, educator, poet, and author of the book Soul Psalms. U-Meleni performed internationally in South Africa, Zimbabwe, Nigeria, Ireland, and Portugal, and we're really honored to have her perform for us tonight. U-Meleni, take it away.
Our bodies are our homes. We carry with us blood, tissues, cells, history, memories braided by age and time. We become at our own pace, and our bodies always, always remember. I did not come here to sing a blues. Lately, I opened my mouth, and out come marigolds and yellow plums. I came to make the sky a garden. Give me rain or give me honey. The sky has given us no water this year. Tonight, I declare we must move instead of play. The bullet does not exist tonight. Tonight, the police have turned to their gods for forgiveness. Tonight, we bury nothing. We serve a God with no need for shovels. Tonight, let everyone be their own Lord. Let everywhere two people stand be a reunion of ancient lights. Let's waste the mood's marble glow, shouting out our names to the stars, until we are the stars. I cried the way women do on TV, folding in the middle, a 5-pound note. You see, I've been praying. I've been praying, I've been praying, I've been praying and praying and praying, and these are my prayers. These are what my prayers look like. Dear God, I come from 2 continents, 2 countries. One is thirsty, one is on fire, both need water. Last night, I held an atlas on my lap, ran my fingers across a whole word and whispered, where does it hurt? Tell me, where does it hurt? It answered, everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. Our bodies are our homes. We carry with us blood, tissues, cells, history, memories braided by age and time. We become at our own pace, and our bodies always, always remember. Unoenda, you go. Unoenda because you've met someone. Moyo wako unofefetera, unoenda because you made a vow. Unoenda because Chando is coming, spring is coming, Masoja arikuya, the plague, the flood, a new religion, a new idea. Unoenda, you go. Unoenda because the world rotates, because nyika iri kuchinja, warasa maki, unoenda because there's food over the hill and there'll be gold on the other side. Unoenda because iwewe you need kushanda, kunoenda because the streets are paved with gold, they say. And baba wako akaenda when he was your age. Unoenda. Unoenda because the waters are rising, the ice sheet is melting, the rivers are dry, there are no more hoe in the sea. Unoenda. Unoenda. You go. Because Nwari akakutaurira, because you dreamt it, because kuri kupisa, kuri kutonora, because you are on a quest for knowledge, and knowledge is always, always beyond. Unoenda. Unoenda because you are looking for the meaning of life, a tall tree to nest in. Unoenda because travel is holy. Because your body is wired to go. Unoenda because you can't pay your rent, because creditors are waiting in line for your children. Unoenda because there's nothing to hope for. Because there's everything to hope for. Because all of life is a risk. Unoenda. Unoenda because you can't cope with your gift, because other people can't cope with your gift, because you have no gift. Unoenda. You go. Unoenda because the barbarians are after you, because eagles have died off with the vultures and ancestors are angry. Unoenda. Unoenda because there's no one left to clean the bones. Unoenda in peace. Unoenda kune hondo. Unoenda because someone offered you a job. Unoenda because you've given up and might as well go. Unoenda in hope. Unoenda in faith, in haste, in sorrow, in deep snow. Unoenda without question, because it was your father's dying wish, because your mother said you should go. Unoenda from pole to pole. Unoenda because you can. Unoenda because you can't. Unoenda because you need sleep, because you need a place to shed your skin in safety. Unoenda, you go. Unoenda with 1,000 questions, but you're growing up, growing old, saying goodbye to all the might have beens and could have beens. You can't step in the same river twice. Unoenda, you go. Because hope, need, and escape are names of the same God. Unoenda, you go. Nekuti upenyu wakanaka, life is good, life is cheap, and you can't take it with you. Unoenda because you're alive. Unoenda because you've made the choice. Unoenda because there is no choice. Unoenda because this is the best choice, or maybe one of the many choices. You go. Unoenda. Unoenda. Unoenda.
Thank you, U-Meleni. What an inspiring way to start the night. I'm excited that we get to hear from U-Meleni twice more during the evening later on. I'm also excited to share that we'll be awarding the inaugural Enroot Annual Award for Immigrant Leadership towards the end of the program. But now it's time to turn to our exciting panel, where we'll explore what it means to be a leader in this country as a person of color and as an immigrant, and the incredible contributions of immigrant leaders all across the region. So often in this country, we fail to fully recognize and appreciate the crucial role that Black, Indigenous, people of color, and among them millions and millions of immigrants play in advancing our society every single day. And because Enroot is so committed to helping our students who are immigrant students envision a bright future for themselves and prepare to pursue it, we also believe it's an important part of our role to change the narrative about who immigrants are in this country and lift up the amazing contributions that they make every single day. So without further ado, I'm excited to introduce our panelists to you tonight. Of course, these brief introductions won't fully compensate and address for all the impact that they're having in their organizations and communities. But first, I'd like to introduce Michel Bamani. Michel is Vice President and Counsel at State Street in Boston. He was born in the Democratic Republic of Congo. He teaches a class at Northeastern Law School and is the proud board president of English for New Bostonians. Welcome, Michel. Betty Francisco is an entrepreneur, business executive, attorney, and community leader. She's known as a powerful convener and change maker, unapologetic about creating visibility for Latinx and people of color. In 2018, Boston Magazine named her as one of the 100 most influential people in Boston, and Get Connected named her to the GK 100, Greater Boston's most influential people of color list. Betty recently joined the board of the Boston Foundation. Welcome, Betty.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Yvette Modestin is a writer, poet, and activist who focuses on shedding light on the Afro-descendant experience in Latin America. She was born and raised in Colón, Panama, and is founder and executive director of Encuentro Diáspora Afro in Boston. She also sits as the representative of this network at the UN Office for Women and the African Union. Welcome, Yvette. Chirfi Guindo is Executive Vice President of Global Product Strategy and Commercialization at Biogen. He has 27 years of experience in the global pharmaceutical industry, during which he has worked across a range of functions, including finance, sales and marketing, general management, and global strategy product development in specialty, acute, and hospital care. Welcome, Chirfi.
Thank you.
And Chirfi, I'd like to direct the first question to you. Where have you seen some of the most important contributions of immigrant leaders in the greater Boston area in response to the COVID-19 crisis? And why is it important to specifically lift up those stories right now?
Thank you, Ben. It really is a pleasure to be with you. And I have to give a shout out to the Zimbabwe folks here on the panel. When I was a high school student, I grew up kind of in that Bob Marley generation. And I still remember vividly when Bob Marley came up with the album Survival to celebrate the independence of Zimbabwe. So every time I meet with Zimbabwe folks, I reminisce over those times. So it really is a pleasure for me to be here and to share this panel with such distinguished and successful immigrants, African, Caribbean, Latin American, you name it. So this is really what gives me energy. So thank you for that. This has been one of the most unusual years, and I really want to salute the work you're doing as Enroot in helping these high school students who are struggling to get by academically, but also in life in general. So, and I couldn't be more proud of the association that we have as Biogen with Enroot via the STAR program. So more on that. Maybe just to get the evening going, I would like to just give one example why I'm so optimistic about immigration, about the prospects that immigrants have in this country, because there's so much negativity out there, and it's really good sometimes to remind ourselves what the impact of immigrants is in this country. Just this week, America's youngest top scientist was elected after a very rigorous process that you can Google it and you can figure it out. The winner is an 8th grader, immigrant girl who happens to live in Texas now, Frisco, Texas. Her name is Anika Shabrulu, and her mentor is Dr. Mafzuka Ali. So think about it. And this girl, I call her girl, she's 14, discovered a molecule that binds preferentially to one of the proteins present on the SARS-CoV-2 virus. So think about it. So as we think about COVID-19, there's a young girl, 14-year-old immigrant, who has discovered a molecule that potentially could be a medicine in the future to combat COVID-19. I mean, I couldn't think of a better example to illustrate the impact of immigrants, young immigrants especially, on innovation, on the vitality of the U.S. Environment. And so this is what it's about. And Enroot, what you're doing is a good example of that. And so hopefully there will be many more Anikas coming out of the Enroot program. And as Biogen, we're very happy to support the work you do. So let me stop here. I could go on and on because I get really excited about these examples.
I hadn't learned about her before, and it's such a good example, such a pertinent, timely example. So thank you, Chirfi. Yvette, I'd like to ask the next question to you. What does the Black Lives Matter movement mean to you personally? And where do you see some of the most important contributions of immigrant leaders in the greater Boston area in advancing the Black Lives Matter movement and the broader movement for racial equity?
Well, first and foremost, I'm a Black woman. Wherever I'm standing, I'm reminded I'm a Black woman. In Panama, I'm reminded that I'm a Black woman. In the US and in Boston, I'm reminded constantly of my Blackness, my skin, my history, my hair, my body is constantly being policed in this country. And you know, when I speak, I should say the world, because you know, colleagues in Colombia, Afro-Colombians are getting killed on a daily basis in Colombia for doing some of the same things that we're doing here. So for me, when I think of Sandra Bland, when I think of Breonna Taylor, that is me. That is every Black woman that does not know what's going to happen from one minute to the next, because our Blackness is seen as a threat. So it is a very personal thing that Black Lives Matter is our call to say we do matter, we are here. Las vidas negras importan. It's still the same thing in Spanish. Um, and the fact that, you know, the Black Lives Matter movement was the three founders. Opal Tometi is Nigerian American. So that alone places the conversation within the immigrant community. It's not an other conversation. It is a internal conversation. However, whatever status you have, you know, whatever job you have, it does not uh, you know, stop you from being stopped by the police. It doesn't stop you from being harassed. None of it stops you. So you have to take on that reality of what it means to be a Black uh, person first and foremost in this country. And then you have to go to the next thing. For me, is what does it mean to be a Black woman? And then you have to go to what does it mean to be a Black woman who's an immigrant? And we have to answer that question for ourselves. And we also have to answer the question of what we know that people think of us, so that we are not being yanked the rug under us every time we step out of our home, or not even step out of our home, because Breonna Taylor was sleeping in her bed and got killed. And we're still waiting for justice for that. So Black Lives Matter is an immigrant conversation. It is our reality. Because when I go out of my home, when I'm walking in the streets, no one has any idea that I can say, hola, ¿cómo estás? Yo soy Yvette Modestin, nacida y criada en Colón, Panamá. They don't expect, they don't wait for the Spanish language to be coming out of my mouth. My Blackness defines my experience. And I've had to learn that truth to be able to navigate the daily struggles of this country, or the daily struggles of the world, because we have sadly been taught that Black is bad and white is good. And within that, the injustice and the inequality exist wherever we are standing.
Thank you so much, Yvette, for sharing so honestly about your experience as a Black woman, as a Latinx person, as a person who's very much involved in the Black Lives Matter movement and can place it so well in the overall context of the contributions of immigrants in this country. Thank you. Betty, I'm turning to you. Who is an immigrant leader that inspired you, and what about their story did you find inspiring?
Sure. Well, thank you for having me and for convening this awesome conversation. I do want to uplift Yvette because she has been a part of our Amplify Latinx family, And she has really grounded us and rooted us in the principle that we have to center Blackness, right? We originate, our history, especially in the Latino community, is rooted in our African roots, and unless we acknowledge that we have to come together and work together, right, to continue to drive forward the Black Lives Matter movement and to also support each other, and work together as if we are all one, we won't make significant progress. So she's been an incredible ally for us, and I just want to uplift you, Yvette, because we love you and thank you.
Gracias.
I will say, for me, my favorite classic immigrant leader, the madrina of movement of all movements, is Dolores Huerta. Many of you know her from the farm workers movement. She co-founded the United Farm Workers Union with Cesar Chavez. But the reason why she's so important, especially to Latinos, is that she's 90 years old. She is literally the woman of the century. She was born just 10 years after women got the right to vote. And she's from Mexico. And I just, I'm always heartened by her story, because she spent her life, dedicated her life to fighting for the rights of the most vulnerable, who are our farm workers. And when you think about it, we are in COVID time, right? And when we think about who are the people that we've elevated to now essential worker status, it's our farm workers, right? It's our grocers, it's our, those doing the distribution of food, selling it. And so we've, for our history, made it about, that these are lesser even humans. And she basically uplifted this idea that these are the individuals that are nourishing us and feeding us, and we have to provide basic human rights. So I love her story. I mean, she led the way she has such a long history, but she led the way, to improving the conditions for farm workers, helping them negotiate contracts, helping them, through different pieces of really instrumental legislation that changed rights for them. Yet it's not enough, right? Even to this day, we are still in this fight for our farm workers. So I just want to keep uplifting immigrant leaders like that have devoted their entire lives to the fight. She just got arrested last year, so this is a woman that will not stop fighting. And it inspires me, because it makes me feel that if someone will do that for all of us, then we need to give that back and pay it back. And that's what drives me every day.
Thank you, Betty. What an inspiring telling of the life and impact, even as a 90-year-old, of Dolores Huerta. I think she should be an inspiration to all of us. Thanks. Michel, a question for you. What is and their leadership in eliminating barriers for immigrants and people of color and advancing diversity, belonging, inclusion, and equity?
Thank you, Ben, and thank you for this amazing panel that you've put together, and thank you for Enroot for doing the work that you do and helping shape our future. When I was thinking about this question, one of the things that I always think about is, and as we read, census just ended, if not for immigrants in the United States, our population will likely be decreasing, right? So that comes out from that perspective. The growth of our country from a population perspective, from a workforce perspective, comes mainly from immigrants. So if you look at that from that perspective, in Boston, for example, I know right after the George Floyd murder and the various things, Boston had started a city thing, but then they started the Commonwealth Racial, I think it's called Equality and Social Justice Fund, which was led by a lot of Black leaders within the city of Boston and surrounding area. And then there are other things, I think the biggest thing comes from, we need to have ownership, right? We need to have immigrants, Black minorities generally, have ownership and have economic independence in this country. So when I think of the role that private companies can play, we had the PPE loans. I think studies show, and Betty has done a lot of work on this, that immigrants and Black businesses took longer for them to get loans, and they got less on average than the other businesses, right? We have things where we're seeing our businesses are likely going to be not coming back online at the same rates as other white businesses. So there's obviously, whenever there is what you think a great equalizer in a health crisis, we're still negatively impacted. So I think the private companies can help us get to this economic independence, like the Justice Fund. I know some banks, we've had JP Morgan, there's a bank here in Boston, I think Eastern Bank, where they've provided money. But I think one of the biggest things to me, it's more so than just creating a foundation or having nonprofit. We need to have money invested to have venture capital funds where we're helping Black and minority businesses started, right? And Betty, I think I'm talking your world at this point, right? It's the things that allow us to have economic independence, because as crass as that might sound, I think that's what allows our voices to be even amplified, because then money talks and we have a seat at the table, because I think we have a voice that they have to listen to. To me, private businesses can help in that pursuit.
Thanks, Michel. There's obviously a whole lot that can be done, and I'm excited to be a part of a group of people that is calling out those opportunities and making sure that they become reality. Thanks to all the panelists for such a powerful start to our conversation. We're going to take a quick break from the panel to enjoy a spoken word performance by U-Meleni. After we return, we'll continue the conversation, and we'll try to make some time to answer a question or two from the audience. So if you have a question, please submit in the chat feature. U-Meleni, take it away.
We speak. We speak because when the rain falls in the mountains, the river slowly swells. It comes rushing down over boulders, across roads, crumbling bridges that would hold their power against its force. We speak. We speak to tumble the towers of oppression. We speak in spite of the fact. We speak, we speak, we speak. We speak because your plan is not our plan. We speak because we dream. Our dreams are not of living, of catching crumbs from tables, not of crawling forever along the everlasting antline to veer away in a quick detour when the elephant's foot crashes down. We speak. We speak for the same reason that the flowers bloom with the sun sets and the fruit ripens. We speak because temples built to honor myths must crumble. As the dawn breaks, there's nothing that you can do about feeble bridges. When the rain falls in the mountains and swells the flow of the rivers, we become the rivers. We are the rivers. We are the roots of ancestral trees, leaders, immigrants, Americans, people. We are great, and we will speak. And we will shout. We will speak, we will shout. We were born to be great. Our bodies are our homes. We carry with us blood, tissues, cells, history, memories braided by age and time. And we become at our own pace, and our bodies will always, always remember.
Thank you, U-Meleni. I feel as though speaking immediately after your poetry doesn't give us time to really let it sink in. So maybe just leave a few moments here for us to think about the power of those ideas. Well, we'll continue with our panel now. Chirfi, a question for you. How do you as an individual help other immigrants and people of color gain access to your industry?
Yeah, so great. Thank you for the question. And since we're talking mostly to students and young people, I really want to address them specifically because I think our industry has so much opportunity for young talent. You know, we're in the war for talent when you think about it. I gave you the example of this young immigrant student from Texas, right? Anika, who's 14 years old. I'm gonna make sure that my team tries to connect with her somehow, because we want people like that to come and work for us and discover the new drugs that are going to treat disease. So we have a number of programs actually right here, and Alazar might mention that in a moment. I talked about the STAR program that we have, and Enroot is one of our partners in that context. I'd like to remind everyone, the young students in particular, that we have the community lab. This has been ongoing for a number of years now in Cambridge, as well as in RTP, Research Triangle Park in North Carolina. So far, 56,000 high school and middle school students have actually benefited from exposure to our research facilities, to our science, with mentoring added to that. So if there's anybody who really is interested, get in contact. This year with COVID, we have gone virtual. So we have a virtual lab in collaboration with MIT. So I really feel very strongly about this, because I really think that the future is going to be science, and we need young people, young immigrants in particular, to choose science, to choose STEM, and Biogen will do our part. We will continue to do our part. And so beyond the entry level or the young, what I call the young target, we have programs for graduates. This year, we have expanded this program. We've tried to accelerate our diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives by partnering with HBCUs, providing internship opportunities, and we're very proud of that. We have a really exciting program with MGH focused on training fellows in neuroscience. So we need to have more Black people, more Latinx people in these fields of medicine, neuroscience specifically. The numbers are really, really low, and that is a problem. If you think about it, when you want to treat Alzheimer's, when you want to treat Parkinson's and diseases like that, they disproportionately impact communities of color. Yet, when you look at the doctors, the scientists who work in these fields, there are very, very few who happen to be Black and Latinx. So, we're really interested to attract talent into these fields. So again, somebody's listening, they're interested, they happen to be college students interested in science, let's get in contact. We have programs that can help you discover what neuroscience can do, that can help you make the choices that we think are exciting. This is about curing disease. This is about helping people live a better life. I can go on and on again, Ben, but I'm not going to do that. You can hear my enthusiasm, hopefully. So I really feel very passionately that science is the answer. And I'm looking forward to the days when science is going to be again, the primary focus also from our policymakers. So I'll stop here.
Thank you, Chirfi. So many really concrete and powerful examples of what's possible and how we can look to our corporate organizations with the resources, the breadth they have, and the incredible career opportunities they have to really help us make advances in equity. I want to turn to Yvette and ask you, Yvette, can you share a moment in your journey as a person of color when you had to navigate nuanced obstacles that were not visible?
They're not visible. I think for probably when I first came here as a college student, but first, before I answer the question, I want to say thank you to Betty, because our collaboration with Amplify has opened a whole nother level of space of a conversation. And I also want to give thanks to Enroot for really staying on top of us to have this event. I think when I came here as a college student, coming from Panama with an American story per se, because I am of Caribbean descent, born and raised in the American territory in Panama that was Jim Crow segregated laws. So I come from a segregated Black community within an American context in another country. So I thought that when I came here, I was ahead of the game because I had already lived around Americans and had an American sort of an experience in my own country, having my feet as a Panamanian, as a Colonense, and then in this American territory that had their own laws. What was interesting to see in coming here was to find that the US as a whole does not study the world. So I had people ask me like, where is Panama? I'm like, really? You helped build, like you built the canal. How do you not know? So that was one thing. And then the next layer was African Americans or US, my US colleagues and classmates had no awareness that there was a Black story in Latin America, or that there's Black people in Latin America. So I had I will never forget a Cuban classmate who lived on the same floor with me, and everyone knew that we were both Latinas. Um, and we functioned on campus, and she lived on my floor, and she never spoke to me in Spanish, like literally never spoke to me in Spanish. And then one holiday we were stuck on a flight, stuck in the airport together to get back to campus. And then that's when she spoke to me. Oh, now you're speaking to me. And she said, I really didn't understand or believe that you were from somewhere else. So it took for us to be stuck in the airport for her to be like, oh, Yvette is from another country and she is immigrant. So that was, and then also um, in going into African American spaces very proudly as a Black woman, knowing that I have my Black story to stand on. Um, and then speaking in Spanish or saying something where my accent would come out and be told by someone or Latino or African American that may have been equally, as Black as I am, sometimes even darker, go, oh, you're not Black? And I'm like, what just happened? Just because I spoke another language, all of a sudden my Blackness was ripped from me. So that was a very difficult thing to navigate when I first came here. Um, and then to be in predominant white spaces as a Black woman, because working in the hospital as a social worker, a trauma responder in early part of my career, and having folks make comments of, oh, you're not like them, and I'm like, who are they talking about? I'm still Black. And then to find out that there was this sort of thing that was being set up that Black immigrants were the safer Black people, and so we were easier to deal with than your African American. And that to me was very troubling, because at the end of the day, when I walk out in the street, like I said earlier, they don't know who I am other than this Black woman walking down the street. So for the young people that are listening, and that are joining us here tonight, know your worth. Know your worth. Stand in your truth. Stand in your light. Don't let anyone take that away from you. And in knowing that, understand what you come from. Understand that this country is standing on the shoulders of even some of our own ancestors who were not born here, but somewhere or the other has had a connection with this country. And know that you are a valued human being, how whatever shade you come in, and it has nothing to do with what country you were born in. You are a valued human being who's worthy of all good things in the world.
Thank you, Yvette. Such powerful words of wisdom. Some of our students are certainly in the audience tonight. Many others haven't watched this, but I'm excited to show them a recording of it later to hear from all of you, but those are very powerful words. I'd like to turn to you, Michel. What are some of the supports similar to Enroot's work with high school and college immigrant students that you had or wish you had as a young person?
Thank you, Ben. Well, some of them I had, and some of them I wish I'd figured out how to better take advantage of. There's really three things in me, especially to the younger people in Enroot. There's internships. I think internships are invaluable, and it's a great opportunity. As an immigrant, I think one of the things that I, at least, I'm not going to generalize, but I had, you look for the safe path, right? You come from uncertainty, so when you decide what you want to do professionally or educationally, you look for the safe path. And by that, I mean, I think there's always law, medicine, and engineering. That's sort of you're going to get a job at least. those are great fields. Chirfi is in one, I'm in the other. So, but I think internships allow you to explore. I think when you come to America as an immigrant, you're given a new chance, a new opportunity. Internships are absolutely invaluable to try. Expose yourself to things that you might not have otherwise tried. Second thing is mentorship. Mentorship to me and knowing how to be a good mentor and a mentee are very key. Mentorship, as an immigrant, I think it's very important that you rely on other people to help you be a sponge. I think it's incredibly valuable. It doesn't matter whether you've been working for 2 years or 35 years, being mentor and being a mentee, because you can't experience all the things in the world. But as an immigrant, especially learning what it's like to be an American, learning about those nuances that Yvette said, where nobody will ever say it to you. So how do you learn that? Having someone who can help you learn those things and say, hey, try this opportunity. Hey, go talk to this person, those kind of things. And then with that, following that is sponsorship. Sponsorship is having someone take you under their wing. And I think from an immigrant perspective, it's one of the things that I would say this as an African immigrant from the Congo, asking for help does not come naturally. There is a thing where, I don't know, I'm sure there's studies out there, it's not a thing that we've learned from a pride, I can figure it out, I can just grind my way to figure out the world. Asking for help allows people to say, oh, you don't know, let me help you. Let me take you under my wing. Let me help you get there. So I think mentorship, but that comes with being vulnerable and being able to ask for help. I think those are very important things that I wish I had and that I wish I knew how to do early on in my life.
Thank you, Michel. Again, really powerful and very relevant thinking about Enroot students as well. Betty,
If I may add, Ben, if I may add something to what Michel said, which I think, spot on, Michel, since we're talking about maybe some lessons for the young people, I would say also assume positive intent. It is really one of the lessons that I have taken. I've been at it now for 32 years as a professional, having lived and worked in a number of countries in Europe and Canada and in the US. Obviously, like all of you, you've faced many, many challenges, people who, didn't think I belonged and so on. But if you assume positive intent, experience tells me that you really are going to sort of move forward, not lose your cool, at the wrong time and that sort of thing. It's also helpful to remember that there are so many people out there who are actually looking to help you. As Michel said, if you just show vulnerability, you ask for help, you ask for someone to explain something to you and so forth, generally speaking, they will do it. Of course, you have a minority of people who don't want to see your face, who don't want to be associated with you. Those are always there. But don't let that be, the problem for you. You should focus more on the overwhelming majority of people who are really decent, well-meaning people. They may make a mistake. And sometimes they may say something to you that is well-intentioned, but it lands in the wrong way. So don't take that sort of thing personally, because if you do, you get into this negative spiral, which is not very helpful. I think you really need to stay focused on your goal. And President Obama said it yesterday during his speech in Philadelphia. If you're expecting perfection, it's never going to happen, right? So what you need to focus on is progress, right? So every step that you make forward, as a young student, you're going to get rejections and rejections after rejections. If you're looking for an internship, if you're looking for a job, if you're looking for, scholarship to do something that you're passionate about. But you have to keep trying and you have to show your passion and your hard work. There's somebody out there who's going to help you. So that's always worked for me, 32 years.
Thank you, Chirfi. Those are very wise words. I appreciate it. Betty, a question for you. How did you find your voice either as a student, professional, or community member?
Great question. I'm always finding my voice. It changes depending on the context, but I'll take you back to sort of my student days. And I always think about what is it that I've wanted to accomplish or achieve and help others to do. And it's really to help build wealth, whether it's through them finding a way to buy a home, right? The two ways to build wealth is buy a home, build equity in a home, or through entrepreneurship, right? And many of us that come from immigrant backgrounds where we have also experienced poverty don't always have that opportunity to think big like that, right? We're sort of in our circumstance and trying to manage. And I grew up poor in public housing. And one of the things that drove me was the fact that I didn't want to rely on help, right? I wanted to be self-sufficient. And one of my dreams was, to own something myself that I could call my home, whether it was tiny. I felt that that was really important. I wanted to break the cycle of poverty in my family. And so my voice has been found through a multitude of ways, which is really about, how do we find the best ways to build wealth. And early on as a student, one of my professors I remember said to me, Betty, this is when I was thinking of becoming a lawyer. He said, the way you're really going to change a community is not through law, it's through business. And it's because businesses create jobs, they anchor institutions, they help others build wealth. That is the way you change and uplift a community. And I thought, well, that's bullshit. That's like for the capitalists. Like, I'm not into that, right? I was like, had probably way back then more of a socialist mindset, if I can, think that far back. And I didn't realize how powerful that was, because that is truly how we start to drive some change, right? Michelle talked about, like, how do we, what should Boston be doing? What should our businesses be doing? It's literally helping, right, our communities become more self-sufficient and build that wealth. So anyway, long story short, I worked really, really hard to be able to get myself and my family out of what I call that generational poverty. By the time I was 28, I was able to buy my first condo, and I attribute that solely to the fact that I was able to go to college, law school, and business school with a full scholarship. I had no debt. And that is why that is so incredibly important for students today, right, who are riddled with that. We have to help them, right, build wealth. Otherwise, we will be in this perpetual cycle where our wealth gap will continue, right, to spiral out of control. And my voice today is about advocating, right, for people of color, for women, for our small businesses, because this truly is a way, right, that we create this pathway out of poverty, a way that we uplift our families, a way we rebuild our communities. And I hope that our young people see that as an option, right? That it's not just capitalism, they have this opportunity to reframe what capitalism can look like.
Thanks so much, Betty. Again, such wise words and great perspective, thinking back across the course of your life. I wonder if, in order to bring the panel to a close, we've got to move on to our award, which is exciting. I could ask a question that each panelist could answer in just a few words. And this is really speaking again to our students. A number of you have sort of addressed them already in your comments. As a leader, as a person of color, what is one message you want to leave with Enroot students and alumni as they set out on their own professional journeys and develop their own leadership? And we'll take it in any order. I see Michel unmuting himself.
I'll go first. I think I would say be bold and dream big. I think as an immigrant, you've come from nothing, and the two things that are within you is resiliency and perseverance. I'll go to battle with that any day of the week. Regardless of what you do, keep that going, and it'll take you as far as you want it to take you.
I love it. Thank you.
And I would say, think of your difference, right? Because immigrants are seen as the other, as the different one. Think of your difference as your asset. That is the biggest asset you have. You speak one or more, two or more languages. You understand other cultures. You know how to navigate multiple spaces. You can code switch. These are all assets that we've been told are negatives. Well, they're looked upon as negatives, but they're what necessary skills for the future. So I would say navigate those and use them to your advantage. See your value, see your power, see yourselves as assets, and truly believe that and internalize that, because students of today are the talent, and you are our future, and we're actually relying on you to change the world.
That's great. Thank you, Betty. Yvette, do you have, would you like to answer that?
No, I had shared earlier, but for me is go after what your gut is saying feels right. I think anything is attainable. You can get anything you want with hard work, with passion, with love, and with dedication. I'm constantly pinching myself because that child from Panama did not expect to be, considered a writer or an activist or sitting on panels with these wonderful fellow panelists. That was not my intent, but I followed the messages that were placed before me. I listened to the whispers. I had amazing mentors, and one of them, he just came to me just sitting here, Counselor Chuck Turner, who recently transitioned end of last year. So I think, be who you want to be, and who that is always your best self, and show up however you want to show up in your best self. And as I don't know who said it earlier, it's always with good intentions, always with hope, and always fearless.
Love that. Thank you, Yvette. Chirfi, any last words of wisdom?
Yeah, so I said it earlier. So assume positive intent. There's so many people out there who are actually ready to help you. Sometimes they don't know how to do it. So you have to show vulnerability. You have to ask for mentorship and support. It reminds me of the African spirit of Ubuntu, which certainly many of you are familiar with. And Ubuntu basically says you are who you are because of others. And it's the same concept as the African village, if you want, right? So we are all in this together. It takes a village, right, to raise a child. It takes a village to accomplish what you need to accomplish. So remember, the village is out there. So as a young person struggling, you may, just remember you're not alone, right? So, talk to folks and assume positive intent. And more often than not, you will find the kind of support, the kind of help that you need in order to accomplish your goals.
Thank you, Chirfi. Wow, such powerful stuff. I can't wait actually to sit with our students and watch this alongside them, probably for years to come. This will be one of the episodes we just put on repeat year after year. Thank you so much to our panelists. Chirfi, thank you. Yvette, thank you. Betty, thank you. Michel, thank you. So much wisdom, so much humility, and so much vulnerability. That is, I think, the most powerful way to share your experience. So I'm really humbled to have had the chance to hear from all of you. Thanks so much.
Awesome.
We will now transition, and I will introduce Danai Morgan, who is Enroot's Director of Development and Strategic Initiatives, who will be awarding the inaugural Enroot Annual Award for Immigrant Leadership.
Thank you, Ben. Good evening, everyone. This year, the recipient of the inaugural Enroot Award for Immigrant Leadership is Alazar Ayele, manager of Biogen's Community Lab. In addition to heading up the Community Lab, he leads the Biogen Foundation STAR Initiative, a $10 million four-year investment in expanding STEM learning opportunities in Cambridge and Somerville for marginalized communities through a collaboration between 6 nonprofit partners and the 2 school districts. We are so thrilled to be honoring you, Alazar, with this award for your work advancing access to STEM learning for students of color, particularly our own Enroot students, through your efforts at the Biogen Community Lab. Alazar has participated in several of our career panels over the years, and many of our immigrant students associate him with what it means to be a scientist, and have all had the wonderful opportunity to work in a lab with him. He's an exemplary role model, nuanced in his strategies for engaging young minds, always tricking them into thinking they're not learning, and particularly for our students, able to relate to their experiences and challenges as immigrants. Congratulations, Alizar. Thank you for your leadership and your tireless work. This award was supposed to be mailed to you, but for some reason it was mailed to me. So this will be coming in the mail to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Danai and Ben and Enroot and the family that I think I can call you family at this point. You know, we've all worked together to support these students, and I cannot be more humbled by the fact that you guys identified me as an immigrant leader. You know, I want to share one story of what it means to be an immigrant for me, and I think the panel shared it very well with their vulnerability and their ability to just present their aspect of who they are as individuals from childhood up until now. And one thing that keeps coming back to my mind is, you know, who I want to thank, which is really my parents. You know, my parents 22 years ago got on a plane at Bole International in Ethiopia, said goodbye to their parents, said goodbye to their brothers and sisters, and said, we're going to take Alizar, we're going to take Naomi and Nahom. So these are my two younger siblings. And we flew to Logan International, and that life changed. And the first thing I told my mom that night was, Mom, when are we going to America? And one thing that I learned, because as a 7-year-old, I saw walls here, I saw walls in Ethiopia. So that question of, when are we going to America? And now that I'm here and now that I'm an immigrant, I identify very solely with the fact that America is about resilience, it's about strength, it's about knowing and understanding what it means to teach others and bestow to others the whole idea of what it means to be a village and a community. So with Enroot and with everything that you guys have done, I truly appreciate all of this. And thank you so much, Dan and I. Thank you, Ben. And thank you to everyone who's listening. And I really hope that you guys continue to do this amazing work that you guys have been just so powerful at doing and engaging with these young people.
Well, congratulations to you, Alizar. We're proud to be able to honor you and, more importantly, to work with you shoulder to shoulder every day. Thank you. And thank you, Dan and I, for your leadership at Enroot too. Some of you know the sad news that Dan and I's years on the Enroot team will be coming to an end soon as she pursues a next exciting career opportunity at the Museum of Science. So congratulations to you, Dan and I. Best wishes in that. We're so incredibly proud of everything that you accomplished at Enroot, grateful to have been your colleagues. You can never leave our family, so you'll always be part of the Enroot family. And most importantly, for helping us build an organization that was prepared to welcome in so many more Enroot students in the future. Thanks, Dan and I. We will be missing you throughout the years.
Thank you.
As we bring tonight's program to a close, I just wanted to say thank you to each and every person who attended tonight, for listening in, for participating, for being a part of such an important conversation, and for supporting Enroot over the years. Many of you have known us for years and supported us. A number of you have made donations tonight as part of our event. If you haven't had a chance to make a donation, I hope you'll consider doing that, with the knowledge that that is what fuels our work, and we can't continue to support our students without individuals also making donations to Enroot. So thank you. Thanks to our sponsors, Biogen, Google, William Blair, Hunt & Andrews Kurth, East Boston Savings Bank, and also Microsoft New England. Thank you once again to our panelists, Yvette, Chirfi, Betty, and Michelle. Thanks to our Enroot staff who made this possible, Dan and I Morgan, Lima James, Natasha Karunaratna. And thank you finally to U-Meleni for such powerful words and performances you've shared with us tonight. U-Meleni will actually close us out tonight by sharing some reflections about a song that she wrote, and then she'll play that song for us to enjoy at the end. Keep an eye out for an email from us tomorrow with the full recorded program from tonight, in case you want to share any portions of it with people in your network. Thanks so much for being here, everyone. Have a wonderful night.
Thank you. This has been such a pleasure and an honor to be part of this. I'm so proud to be connecting and collaborating with Enroot. I want to bring it back to young people. The song that I'm going to share as we close out this beautiful event was inspired by many things. And my young people I was teaching at the time really, were pushing me to put the song out. And so this is for the youth. This is my message for all of us right now, these trying times, is that we all have our voice, and our voices are important. They matter, our stories matter. And we should use our voices, as you all did today and are moving forward, to uplift our future generations, to uplift one another. So this song, Toita Say, is about that. This is my message to all of you. Thank you again for being part of this event. Thank you to all the panelists. Thank you to all the folks that came to attend. I hope that you enjoy this song, Toita Say.
Toita say mambo, toita say go. 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 Nika iribukarara, toita say wanu warikuba, toita say anamai warikuchema, toita say anababa wariku, toita say toita say go. Toita say toita say go. Toita say toita say go. Toita say toita say. Toita say wana wanenzara anamai warikurwara wamehawana mabasa nika zirikuparara toita seiko toita seiko toita seiko toita seiko toita seiko mambo toita seiko toita seiko toita seiko namatai batanai simukai namatai simukai dananai namatai simukai dananai batanai simukai toita seiko 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 toita seiko. There's so many things that are going on in this world today. So much pain, so much greed and misery. We've got to get back to the essence, get back to the core. We've got to love one another, respect each other. So we ask God, what do we do? And I have to say that it begins with you. Love each other, pray together, lift each other. Love each other, lift each other, pray together. Oh, yeah. Love each other, pray together, lift each other. Love each other, lift each other, pray together. Oh, God. Da-na-na, ba-da-na, da-na-na, simugai. enjoy it and